What's up guys, it's your boy Moody. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be talking about some lights. So let's not waste any time, let's dive right into it. Now, full transparency, I do work with Amaran, but that's only for short form content. They don't have anything to do with my YouTube channel. So all this is because I wanted to make it. And I just really appreciate the people over at Amaran and I really like the products. So I obviously wanted to make a video showcasing the products and talking a little bit about the products. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So if you guys are not familiar with what I'm talking about this bad boy right here. This is the Amaran Pano series. This is the Pano 60C. There's a couple of different ones. So it's the Pano 60 and then there's also the Pano 120. So these are the two lights that have just been released. You have the Pano, I'm gonna hide so it doesn't take my face. You have the Pano 120 and the Pano 60. And these are essentially very similar lights, just different sizes. So I'm gonna start off with the Pano 60 and kind of start off with the singular kit and kind of go through what's in it, what comes included, and what you guys can expect to pay for it before the tariffs. We don't know what's happening with the tariffs. But yeah, if you guys are unfamiliar with these lights, these are basically brand new panel lights. Panel. So let's go over some of the specs. This is the Pano C, which means this is full RGB. It has the 60C badging on it. It has this cool new design, which is super lightweight, super thin. As you guys can see how thin that is. Like that is super thin. And if you guys are also looking at this camera right here, you can see that they have this new mount, which I'll talk about in a second. This is the new Ace mount that was on the Ace 25C that they've also introduced it here. And then they also have the 1/4 inch thread on the bottom, as well as some air vents and some air vents on the back. And they also have active cooling to keep it nice and cool so it doesn't overheat. You have some dials over here. So with the dials, you also have a power button and then a back button. And on the bottom, if you're paying attention, you can also see that this is a USB-C enabled device. The 60C is only USB-C, which is awesome because it's a universal protocol. You're not gonna be anywhere without a USB-C cable, so you will always be able to power this light. Another thing you guys might notice is these weird little beads on the panel itself. You do get a little bit of a cover on it, but you also get these little beads, which are actually lenses and little lens elements. And this is gonna essentially allow the LEDs to project the light forward more instead of just kind of spilling it everywhere. So with a traditional panel, you turn it on, light just kind of starts going everywhere. Or with these little lenses, it's gonna project the light forward a lot more efficiently, which you're gonna get more power out of this than anything else on the market the same size, as well as just updated technology for the LEDs, so they're using more power efficient LEDs. So I think it looks really cool. I think it's a really solid little light. It's been one of my favorite lights. I'll touch back on this in a second when I finish going over what comes included. So other things that come included are a single diffusion for the light itself, as well as the whole kind of diffusion kit. So you do get a softbox that has diffusion built into it. You get that, and then you also get a grid that also just comes included, which is nice because sometimes you just don't get that kind of stuff. You have to buy it separately, but this is all one kit. And then of course you get your cables. So you get your USB-C cable. This is a brick that comes along with it. And it's gonna give you about 15 feet. I think it's 12, I don't know if it's 12 or 15. It's pretty long. I think it's 15 feet. So you're gonna get about 15 feet of length on the cable with the USB-C, which is nice. And then as you can see on here, there's this little clip. So once it does clip onto the light, it's again kind of similar to the last generation where it's anti-slip. So if you do pull on it, it's not gonna just yank out right away. You're gonna have to put a little bit more force into it. The manual and then what comes included. And then also your Ace lock. So this is the little Ace lock that I was talking about. This is gonna allow you to connect directly into the light without having to screw it on. And I mean, because that is one of the selling points for this, I definitely do think people are gonna be utilizing it. So let me show you how easy this is. You basically take these little prongs, right? And then you connect it onto the light and boom, just like that. It's connected, you don't have to worry about it falling, and then you can do all the adjustments. And when you're done with it, you can just click that button, single click, and boom, just like that. Super easy. And yeah, that is what's included with the 60C. Essentially, the exact same things are included in the 120C. So I'll go ahead and put this stuff back because I don't want to have to do this afterwards. And then you also do get the carrying case that comes included as well. So you get a little carrying case, which is super nice because, you know, obviously you want to be able to take your lights everywhere you go, especially when they're this small and this portable. So that's what comes in this 60C. Let's open up the 120C just so you guys can also just see what comes included in those. It's a much bigger case, but again, it's also a much bigger light. So the 60C is a 60 watt light. This is a 120 watt light. So let's bust this bad boy open. So here is everything that comes included. It's essentially the exact same as the 60C. So you get a softbox and grid, you get your extra layer diffusion, you get your cables, you get your Ace lock down here. So again, you get another Ace lock. for the 120C. They use the exact same ace lock, and then you also get the 120C. So this is the charcoal. They come in charcoal and white. So this is the 120C. And as you can see, it also has the little lenses on the panel itself to, again, project that light forward. And it has the same kind of body style. So you're getting this cool design, super thin. You can see that ace lock on the bottom, and then you can also see that quarter thread on top. So again, you're getting your quarter thread, and then you're also getting your ace lock, as well as just as cool design for the Pano 120C. And again, it's C badged, so you get full RGB on this. Same buttons, you get a power button, you get a back button, and then you also get a dial. So the dial and all these buttons are super tactile, super clicky, and I mean, super nice light. Now, the thing about this one is this does actually also include a DC cable. So for the DC of the 120, it's gonna go in and it's gonna lock, which is nice. And then you also do get USB-C in case you want to use USB-C on it as well. So you're getting both. This is nice because you can run this, again, off USB-C. Obviously, this does draw more power than the 60C. So depending on what battery you have or what source you have, you're not going to be able to power this to its full potential unless you actually have a battery that allows you to power it to the full potential, which for this is going to be 140 watts. So it draws 140 watts of power. So if you don't have a cable that can run that, then you're not going to be able to use that USB-C cable. But the nice thing about that light and both of these lights is that even if you don't have a USB-C cable that's rated for the total power output, you're still able to power it on. It'll just warn you like, hey, this is not compatible with you're not compatible with full power on this cable or this battery. So it'll warn you how much you can actually use from it so it doesn't oversurge the battery source or power source you're using or the cable that you're using. It's a nice little like warning and safety thing that's built in. You don't have to worry about like plugging in a cable and accidentally frying it. It all has that built in thanks to that USB-C protocol, which I think is super cool. So let's go ahead and power these bad boys on and let me show you guys a little bit more about the light itself. Before I forget, there's actually a third secret kit. Well, I guess it's not really a secret, but it's a third kit that comes with the release of the Panos, and that is this guy right here. So this is the Pano 60C double kit, and this is essentially going to take everything that came included with the single kit and just double it. So you're gonna get 2 lights, you're gonna get 2 soft boxes, you're gonna get 2 grids, 2 sets of cables, and then a cool thing that comes included with this kit that doesn't come included with the other ones. 2 of these guys right here, which are the brand new light stands. So these actually, even though they're super tiny, these will boom up to about 6.5 feet, which is incredible considering these are super tiny. And these all fit in that case that I just showed you. So yeah, those are the 3 kits. Let's talk about pricing. So obviously these are new lights. Everyone wants to know what the pricings are. As of today, as making this video, the 60C is gonna run you about $165 for the single kit. The double kit that I just showed you guys is gonna be $330 with tax and whatnot. And then the single kit for the 120C is gonna be $280. So very, very good pricing. And I mean, for the price, I don't think there's anything else on the market that I would choose over these. So let's go ahead and dive into the lights themselves for the purpose of just desk space and whatnot, because this isn't that big of a desk. I'm only gonna be using the 60C on here. Keep in mind, the 120 is essentially a clone of the 60. It's just bigger and brighter. So I have a V-mount battery right here. This is my newer battery that I've been running off of it. Later this year, they're actually gonna be releasing a proprietary battery for the ace lock system, which is super nice. I don't have one here because they just now had the prototypes at NAB, but they were showing it off at NAB and a lot of people did enjoy looking at it and playing around with it. And it's, again, just made to be super portable. But for now, I'm just gonna be using the V-mount battery from Newer, plugging it in to the USB-C cable and then powering this bad boy on. And as you can see, this bad boy, this is at 50%. This is a pretty intense light. This is 50% right now. This is the C badged model, so this has full RGB. So let me go into RGB mode. Let me actually just walk you through the settings that it has. So you have your color temperature for just white light. You have your HSI, you have your RGB, you have your FX, because this is obviously a video light as well. You have your Bluetooth, so you can pair it to either Amaran or Sidus Link app. You have your custom button, you have your studio, and then you have CCT extended. So if you want to go even crazier, and then you can change your language, and then you have your fan, and then you have your version to see what version and serial number and whatnot is. So let's go ahead and start with the CCT. So the CCT is where you're going to control, I'm going to turn this down so I don't blind you guys. The CCT is where you're going to control the color temperature of your white light. It's also where you're going to control your green magenta shift, because obviously you do have color RGBs in here. So if I bring it down to 1%, I want to see if you guys would even be able to see that. Probably not. But you can change the shift. So right now we're doing kind of like a magenta shift, and then we can also do a green shift. So you can match it with other lights. You can do intensity. So we're at 1%. We're going to go all the way up to 100%. I mean, yeah, this is an intense light, even though it's really tiny. So because it has the RGB chips in it, you can actually do as low as 1800 Kelvin. So you can do as low as 1800 Kelvin and then as high as 20,000 Kelvin. So you get a really extended range on this light, which is super nice, along with the brightness and green magenta shift. So let's move on to the next one. So the next is the HSI. So HSI is where you're going to control your colors. It's one way to control your colors. You can do HSI or you can do your RGB. HSI is hue, saturation, intensity, and then RGB is just like your red, green, and blue channel. I personally like to use HSI. I think I can dial in my colors a lot quicker through that. So that's the setting that I'm in. So right now I'm currently in red. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. So at 1% so I don't blind myself. And then you have your hue, so you can do literally all the colors. Now this doesn't have the Blair engine or anything crazy, so the yellows are still not going to be the best, but I mean, that's a pretty good yellow. There's obviously some green in there, and it's not a perfect yellow, but it's doing its best, and it's doing pretty good. And then let's go to saturation. So saturation, you can do 100%, or you can go all the way down to 0. And then with your intensity, again, you can also just do 1% all the way up to 100%. And you're getting a ton of brightness. And you can kind of see it on the top camera, how it doesn't spill too crazy. It kind of projects it forward more. Whereas if this was a normal panel, you would probably be seeing spill all on the entire desk. So you can see how it's kind of using those lenses to project the light forward a little bit more. RGB is essentially the same thing, just dialing your channels. And then for the FX, I'm not gonna go through all of them, but you have your fireworks, fuzzy bulb, lightning, TV, pulsing, strobe, explosion, fire, paparazzi, welding, cop car, and party lights. So you have a bunch of different modes for that as well. Your Bluetooth, you can just hold to reset, and then that allows you to, again, pair it with your Amaran app. And then your custom button, I actually don't know what this does. I think you can allow it to, if you wanna like triple click the mode dial, you can change that to a specific thing. And then studio mode, you can turn that on as well. I also do not know what that is. And then again, you can flip your extended Kelvin on or off. So I have it on because why not? And if you flip it off and you don't have it on and you go over to your CCT, you're gonna be locked to 23 all the way up to 10,000. So an extended Kelvin range, you get that extended Kelvin, so might as well use it. I think the reason you don't have it on straight out of the box is because you do get slightly worse color accuracy with it on. But I mean, at the end of the day, having that extended range does help. But yeah, that is the 60C. And like I mentioned, the 120C is going to be basically a clone of this. Here's a side-by-side comparison. As you can see, 60C, 120C, little guy, big guy, both very, very solid lights. So now that I show you guys the kind of how these lights work, I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about my experience with them in the last month or so that I've had these. As you guys know, I'm a photographer. I do a lot of photography. I do a lot of studio stuff. So I'm here in my studio. Behind the camera, you can actually see my cyc wall. And that is where I do the majority of my photography. Something like this is great for in studio as well as out of studio because it's really lightweight, it's really portable. So you can take it out of the studio, and even in a studio environment, it's still super lightweight, so you can boom it up, you can rig it up. You can put the light on a stand that might not be as heavy duty and not have to worry about it weighing it down and breaking it and stuff like that. With the softbox and the grid attached to these guys, you get a little bit more control than you would with it just open like this, with just a panel showing, but you don't get as much control as a COB. I am someone that primarily uses the COBs. I have 300Cs here at my studio. I have a 150C, I have the 60Cs or 60Xs. I have like the Aperture 600s. I have, you know, all of my lights apart from these, and then the old generation softboxes that I have from Amaran are all COB lights. I just love the flexibility of a Bowens mount. I love having a bunch of different ways to modify my lighting. And with these, you don't really get as much from the modification as you do a COB. So if you are somebody like me who does use a lot of Bowens mount lights and you don't use a ton of soft boxes, these may not be for you, in my complete honesty. But if you are somebody that always just throws a softbox on your COB anyways, and you always just use soft modifiers or you're bouncing off the wall, then something like this might be a very valuable tool for you. At the end of the day, I think lights are just tools, and I don't think there's, one light that's gonna rule them all. Lights are like tools, and there's obviously different tools for different jobs. This would be my go-to if I'm doing some outdoor shooting. I actually just recently did a photo shoot where I went outdoors with these, and it was a fun shoot. And I only brought the 60C case. I did bring the 120, but that's because I had an extra pair of hands to bring it with me. But had I not had that extra pair of hands, I would have just brought the 60C double kit in my backpack, because the 60C comes with, or the dual kit that I showed you guys earlier, it comes with both light stands. So I don't have to bring any extra stands. And like I said, it booms up to 6.5 feet, which is good enough height for most of the things that I'm shooting. So in terms of portability and having a light that I can take on the go, these are going to be my go-tos. I think the 120 I'm gonna keep in the studio more. I don't really see a reason to bring this out just because it's a little bit bigger. Takes up a little bit more space. It's about the size of my laptop, and my laptop already barely fits in my backpack. So, I mean, unless they come out with a carrying case that can fit everything, plus stands, plus all that, I don't really see this as being a thing that I'm gonna take with me when I'm moving around and doing portable stuff. 60C on the other hand, I do definitely think that's gonna be my go-to on the fly setup. It's gonna be my dual kit of the 60Cs. I was a little skeptical on them when I first got them, because obviously I get gear sent to me and then I make content for them. But I was like, oh man, I don't really use panel lights that much. So I was kind of like worried, like, oh, am I even gonna really have a use for this? But now that I have used them on a couple of different shoots, some shoots that aren't even affiliated with the content that I'm making for amaran, I've actually really liked how everything's turned out. So I do actually think I'm gonna put these in my rotation, and I think that they're pretty solid light for what they are, and they're also super affordable. I think 165 for the single kit, really solid, but I think the 330 for the double kit is even more solid, because you're getting, again, 2 lights, 2 stands, 2 softboxes, 2 everything, all for 330, which I think is a really, really solid and competitive pricing. So would I recommend these to anyone who is just starting out in photography? 100%. I think they're super easy to pick up. At NAB, when I was showing them off to everyone, I was literally just giving them the light and just walking them through, and I was just telling them how to click it and whatnot, and within a minute of them talking to me, they easily figured out how to do everything. And there was a bunch of people actually at NAB that were like, oh, can I just buy this from you guys right now? Unfortunately, we weren't selling anything at NAB, so I had to tell them to go on the website. But yeah, the amount of people that were just like, yeah, can I just buy this from you guys right now? Like, I want this right now, was a lot more than I expected. And then same with the amaran Go. So maybe next year they can actually have some sales at NAB. But I don't really know what else to say about the Pano series. They're solid light. I think they're really good. If you do photography or videography and you're like a one-man band, I definitely think these are something you can use in your arsenal. These lights get 2 thumbs up from me. And yeah, that about does it for this video. Thank you guys for watching my review on the Pano 60 and Pano 120. If you guys have any questions about these lights, leave them down in the comment section below. If you guys want to see some more content about these lights, follow me on Instagram at MoodyDarkRoom. Follow me on TikTok, Twitter, everything else at MoodyDarkRoom. And make sure to subscribe, like, comment. You already know the deal. And I'll see you guys in the next video.